Ityaham vasudevasya partascha mahatmanaha samvadam imam ashrausham adbhutam romaharshanam. Adbhutam romaharshanam. The samvada between Sri Krishna Paramatma and Arjuna is over. The samvada between Krishna and Arjuna, where Krishna takes the opportunity to give the very essence of the Vedas and the Vedanta to Arjuna, and through Arjuna to all of us, has now been completed. Sanjaya, the blessed Sanjaya, now is concluding the Gita. So we all know how Gita started. It starts with Dhritarashtra's question. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samavetayu yutsavaha mamakah pandavas chaiva kimakurvata Sanjaya. Hey Sanjaya, what happened? This was Dhritarashtra's question that triggered the conversation. Now there are two Gitas in the Mahabharata. There is an outdoor Gita and there is an indoor Gita. The outdoor Gita is the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, which is being relayed real time. In the history of humankind, the first real time commentary happened by Sanjaya. The war of Mahabharata was relayed as it happened, including every nuance. Sanjaya not only heard the conversation, he experienced what was going on. And the indoor Gita is between Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya. Outdoor Gita is between a blind person and one who is enlightened. And indoor Gita also is between a blind person and one who is enlightened. One is physically blind, other is mentally blind. Dhritarashtra is physically blind, Arjuna is mentally blind. In both the cases, the one who enlightens happens to be a charioteer. Sanjaya is also a charioteer. Krishna is also a charioteer. So both the Gitas have parallels. So the outdoor Gita has now completed. Now the indoor Gita continues. Indoor Gita possibly is in an air-conditioned room in the palace. Lot more comfortable. While Arjuna and Krishna were sweating it out on the battlefield of Mahabharata, Dhritarashtra was even though he was in the luxury of the palace, he was also sweating for some other reason. Not because of the heat, but he knew what the outcome is going to be. Now, in response to Dhritarashtra's question, the very first shloka of the Gita, what happened, hey Sanjaya? Now, Sanjaya, after having relayed whatever happened between Krishna and Arjuna, is now making the conclusion. This is Sanjaya's conclusive answer to Dhritarashtra's question. Kimakurvata Sanjaya? Now, Sanjaya is saying, Ityaham vasudevasya partascha mahatmanaha samvadam imam ashrausham. That samvada I heard. I was fortunate to listen to that samvada. And he qualifies that samvada. He says, Adbhutam romaharshanam. Sanjaya had horripilations all over his body throughout while listening to the Gita. Obviously, he is the one who had the opportunity to listen to Krishna. He was the only one other than Arjuna. No wonder he had horripilations. His hair stood all over his body. And he is basically telling Dhritarashtra, hey Dhritarashtra, Ityaham vasudevasya partascha mahatmanaha. Instead of saying samvada between Krishna and Partha, now he is saying vasudevasya. Because Sanjaya is now privy to what happened on the battlefield. Sanjaya knows Krishna is that Paravasudeva. The Vasudeva Nama is so very special. Bhagavan has several namas, and we know through Bhishmacharya's Vishnu Sahasranama, there are 1,000 prominent namas of Bhagavan. Now, of all these namas, 3 namas of Bhagavan are very, very special, are very unique, very special. If we were to categorize all the namas of Bhagavan, not only the 1,000 that are presented by Bhishmacharya, if we cull out every nama from the entire body of Shastras and then we categorize them, we can get only 2 categories. 2 categories of namas. Avyapaka namas, Vyapaka namas. Avyapaka namas, Vyapaka namas. And Vyapaka namas are only 3. Because Vyapaka namas are very, very special, because Vyapaka namas capture the very essence of who is that Bhagavan, who is that Paramatma, who is that Parabrahman. Avyapaka namas, every nama captures the essence of one Kalyana Guna. Yani namani gaunani vikhyatani mahatmanaha. Rishibhihi parigitani tani vakshabi bhutaye. When it comes to Vyapaka namas, they not only capture Bhagavan's gunas, they capture one of the most fundamental aspect of Godhood. What is that fundamental quality of Godhood which differentiates him from everything else? Vyapakatva, pervasion, omnipresence. Vyapaka means pervasion. He alone pervades and permeates everything in this creation. And what are these 3 special Vyapaka namas? The 3 namas are Vishnu, Vasudevaha, Narayanaha. These 3 namas are called Vyapaka. That is why the 3 mantras associated with these 3 namas are celebrated as Guhya mantras. And these mantras normally are not taught. They are passed on through a Guru Parampara because they are considered very, very special. They are considered Guhya, very confidential and secretive, not because they are not to be shared, but they need to be shared through a Parampara because they need to be understood, because they are very potent medicines. No, it's like the more the power the medicine has, greater the regulation as to how it is distributed, isn't it? A normal medicine, a paracetamol, there is no restriction whatsoever. It can be sold anywhere and everywhere. And we don't need even a doctor to prescribe it. The greater the potency of a medicine, the greater the regulation as to who should prescribe it, how it should be administered and passed on. That is why when we say Guhya mantras are to be shared with one and all without any discrimination, but through a process. That is why we have several Guru Paramparas. And it is through a Parampara that these Guhya mantras are shared. And Vasudeva Nama is one of the 3 Vyapaka Namas, and Sanjaya is now referring to one of the Vyapaka Namas, knowing that the one who has been having this conversation with Arjuna, Krishna, is none other than that Parabrahman himself. He is Vasudeva, the Paravasudeva. Incidentally, Bhagavan chooses Vasudeva as his father and takes the avatara, son of Vasudeva, Vasudeva. The Paravasudeva becomes son of Vasudeva, Vasudeva. That's also another interesting coincidence. The Vasudeva is one in whom dwells the entire universe. Vasudeva is one who holds his entire universe, just like how a mother holds her womb with care. He holds his entire universe within himself, like a mother holding a womb, protecting it, nourishing it. The child inside does not ask for protection. The child inside does not ask for nourishment. The child knows that it is taken care of. Everyone in this creation is taken care of. It is just that we need to realize that. Until we realize, we are seeking protection. Until we realize, we are seeking nourishment. Until we realize, we are seeking everything other than him. The moment we realize Vasudevas Sarvamiti, then we know that we are already protected. We are already being nourished. That's the power of the Vasudeva Nama. The one in whom everything dwells and one who envelops this entire creation. He is Vasudeva. So Sanjaya therefore rightly concludes, says this conversation, Nityaham Vasudevasya Partascha Mahatmanaha. Obviously Bhagavan, Paramatma is Mahatma, no doubt. But Arjuna now has also become a Mahatma because he had the privilege of listening to the Paramatma, and therefore he is also now a Mahatma. Therefore this conversation between the two Mahatmas, I have been privileged to listen to it. Samvadam imam ashrausham. From the words that we hear, from whom we hear definitely matters. From whom we hear definitely matters. What matters more is whether we value the words heard by the one whom we value. If we do not value, then whatever we hear is of no value. No, it is like we are driving on the road and then we are lost. And then there are several people around who give us various directions. The direction that we choose to pick, given by different people, depends on whom we value. Number one. Number two, whom we value, and do we value the direction that they give us, based on which our destination that we take is determined. So it is so very important that the words matter from whom we hear, and more importantly, whether we value the words that we hear. So here, in the context of the Gita, both Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya heard the Gita. Dhritarashtra also can be considered as blessed, because as Sanjaya was listening, he was relaying the Gita word by word, shloka by shloka. So Dhritarashtra also heard the Gita, but the effect on Sanjaya is so very different to the effect on Dhritarashtra. Now we all need to decide whether we want to be Sanjayas or Dhritarashtras. The choice is ours. So many times we get lost in the journey of life. Some may say, we don't get lost in the journey of life. We are very clear. If somebody says they are never lost, then they have more or less accepted the materialistic view that life is nothing but a straight journey from the cradle to the grave. If that is what is life all about, then nobody can get lost. Journey is clearly charted, cradle to the grave. But the moment we start slightly looking beyond the materialistic view, then we suddenly seem to get lost. It is better that we get lost in life's journey than to feel very safe that we have not been lost. Because only when we feel lost, then we will start looking out for ways to get back and take the right direction. And whenever we get lost, we need to get reoriented and redirected. And this redirection is so very important, and this is exactly what Krishna does to Arjuna. Reorients him, redirects him, so that he gets the direction in his life right. So when we hear Krishna's words, what is important is, do we value what we hear? Dhritarashtra did not value at all. He was so blinded, and in that process, Krishna's words made no impact. So therefore, even if we listen the 18 chapters of Gita 18 times, it may not have any impact. We may end up saying there is no transformation at all. On the other hand, even if we hear it once, there can be such a tremendous transformation that we can start accelerating, soaring high in the right direction towards our destination. This is exactly what has happened to Sanjaya. Therefore, Sanjaya is so thrilled. Sanjaya is so thrilled that he says, hey Dhritarashtra, unfortunately for Sanjaya, in front of him he sees Dhritarashtra who is not in any position to share his thrill, share his wonder. Sometimes we also need the right kind of people with us to share our bliss, isn't it? If somebody who is with us has no sense of excitement whatsoever, we are excited and then the other person has no signs of any excitement, then that excitement also is not something which we like. So therefore here Sanjaya is looking at Dhritarashtra and says, hey Dhritarashtra, samvadabhimam ashrausham, adbhutam romaharshanam, adbhutam romaharshanam. It's wondrous conversation. Adbhutam. No, wonder is so very important. Most often, we do not realize this in our lives. Now, as we keep growing, when we are little children, we naturally are in a state of awe. 1 year, 2-year-old, when they look at full moon in the night, naturally there is a sense of awe. And when we are children, we look at sun, naturally there is a sense of awe. That is why nursery rhymes, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. What we do, we by heart it. How I wonder, the wondering part is gone. We only by heart it by rote. And in that process, even our education, while teaching the same nursery rhyme, focuses on how to get it by heart rather than actually wonder at the start. This process of wondering gets lost right at the time of childhood. And as we grow, we become very mechanical. Life becomes so very mechanical. When life is mechanical, there is no room for bhakti in our hearts. So many times we complain and we are even little concerned. How come I do not have that kind of bhakti towards Krishna? I put in a lot of effort. I sing bhajans, I chant, I listen, but somehow that bhakti seems to be not really blossoming because we have lost that power of wondering. Bhakti cannot blossom if there is no sense of awe. When we have that sense of awe for the Creator, naturally bhakti blossoms. So Sanjaya is experiencing that awe. Now when we look at Krishna, we need to have that sense of awe for his greatness. And it is only when we are awestruck looking at Krishna, bhakti can blossom and grow. If we do not cultivate this wonder, mind will only keep wandering. Instead of wandering, it will keep wandering. Because by design, mind is meant to wander. That is by design. It's a manufacturing defect. It will always keep wandering. And the problem is when the mind keeps wandering, it will keep picking up everything from the outside. And in that process, it will not only wander, it will also pander to all the desires. So our life is all about wandering and pandering to desires. There is something more to life. Instead of wandering, the mind should wander. From wander to wonder. From pander to ponder. Contemplate, deep contemplation. How can we contemplate on Krishna's glories? If the mind is going around and around and around, succumbing to various desires, we cannot ponder on the greatness of Krishna. Only when we start pondering, deep contemplation, and with that deep contemplation, we will also start to wonder. When Shastras talk about enlightenment, we normally equate enlightenment only to understanding something. enlightenment has two facets. Enlightenment leads to comprehension, no doubt, but more importantly, it needs to lead to wonder. That is why if you see all the great bhaktas, they are always in a state of awe, tears rolling down their eyes all the time. Every time Krishna Nama is invoked, every time they look around and they connect with Krishna, they are in a state of awe. They are in wonder. They are enlightened because they don't stop just at comprehension. No, even in the Gita we see enlightenment leading to comprehension. Example, Arjuna, Sthitosmi gatasandeha karishye vachanam tava. After listening to Krishna's exposition, Arjuna is enlightened, no doubt. That facet of enlightenment, Arjuna's enlightenment, is comprehension, which connotes a sense of deep understanding. Arjuna has understood, hey Krishna, I have understood, you are Param Brahma, Parandhava, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan, Purusham, Shashvatam, Divyam, Adidevam, Ajam Vibhum. You are that Parabrahma, you are that Paramatma, you are that Adideva. Therefore, I know Karishye Vachanam Tava. I have to do by harmonizing my will with your will. That comprehension of reality dawns when we understand reality. We understand the truth of who is Krishna, who is God. No, until we get a comprehensive definition of God, we cannot submit our will to God's will. We are all seeking to understand the definition of God. And unfortunately, the word God itself, which is a Western concept, does not clearly give us a good definition compared to the terms that are used in our Shastras. Brahman, Bhagavan, Paramatma, Narayana, Vasudeva. When we understand the meaning of these namas, straight away, we get a clear conception of what is Godhood. We get a clear definition of what God stands for. And when we get that clear conception, in that state of comprehension, we immediately realize that the only choice that we have, in the life, multiple choice of life, success is to make only one choice. Karishye vachanam tava. This is what exactly Arjuna demonstrates. This is one facet of enlightenment. Now, the other facet of enlightenment is exemplified by Sanjaya. This is going beyond comprehension to a state of wonder, to a state of awe. While comprehension connotes knowing, understanding, wonder connotes a state of awe. Now, these two may seem to be conflicting because sometimes when we know something, there is no more wonder. The same child who looks at the star and says, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. The moment the chemical composition, the physical composition of the star is studied in physics, somewhere that wonder stops. Because everything is about just what and how, the why, the asking the why stops. When kids keep asking the why, we sometimes shut them out. Because we are only comfortable sometimes answering the how and the what. Not even how, sometimes the what. The whys are very uncomfortable. And the kids ask the why most often. And we shut them out. And when we stop asking the why, our power to wonder also gets diminished over a period of time. That is the reason why after growing up, we don't ask the lofty question as to why this life? Why am I here? That why is such a profound why. And without that why, that sense of wonder cannot be cultivated at all. Now, Sanjaya's enlightenment doesn't stop with comprehension. Now, how can we reconcile comprehension, knowing, and the sense of wonder? They seem to be conflicting. We can reconcile when the object of enlightenment is Krishna. When the object of enlightenment is Krishna, and when we appreciate his limitlessness. Now, if we are solving a crossword puzzle, until we solve the crossword puzzle, there may be some sense of wonder. Once we understand and solve, then there is no more stimulation. Then we go looking around for something else which will stimulate us. Because of the finite nature of anything which is material, any material challenge, it's finite in nature. Once we solve the puzzle, but Krishna is not about solving a puzzle. So therefore, as we start as we go in deeper and deeper and deeper, knowing, comprehending Krishna, we only journey more and more into an ecstatic state of absorption. The more we know Krishna, there is no stopping. It is not like saying that today, 18 chapters of Gita, I know Krishna more, there is nothing more to know. No, the more we know, the greater is the wonder. This is the beauty, because the object of enlightenment here is the limitlessness of Krishna. And that is why, as we keep journeying, the more we know, the moment we know the nature of Bhagavan, Matta Parataram Nanyati Kinchidasti Dhananjaya, Maisarvamidam Protam Sutre Maniganaiva. Immediately, when we know how he is the Sarvadhara, he is like the string that supports the gems, supporting all the entities in the universe. That knowledge, that comprehension further kindles our curiosity to know him more, and we are in a state of awe. Thus we see, as we journey through the Gita, enlightenment, the two facets of enlightenment, comprehension and wonder, keeps growing, and it never ends. It can never end too, because we can go on knowing Krishna more and more, and our experience can only get deeper and richer all the time. No wonder Sanjaya, who has been listening to that conversation, he says, Samvadam imam ashrosham adbhutam romaharshanam. No, that is the reason why normally we say, if things are not looking up, then we need to look up. We all know that. And most of us do that. But then, our looking up when things don't look up is mostly sentimental. We all rush to Bhagavan. When there is a problem, we look up. But here, the wonder is, looking up here is spiritually looking up. Being in awe, knowing that he is orchestrating something which is beyond my comprehension. And I am as part of this, what is going on, what is unfolding, and whatever unfolds, I will play my part and I will accept the role that as it unfolds for me. That wonder of Bhagavan's Leela brings a completely different dimension to the way I deal with my life and living. That is why Sanjaya, we can consider Sanjaya as one of the supreme examples of a great bhakta, because his enlightenment does not stop with just comprehension. Having horripilations all over the body as he keeps listening, he says, Sambadam imamashausham adbhutam romaharshanam, he says. And then it doesn't stop there. He says, Vyasa prasadat shrutavan etad guhyam aham param yogam yogeshwarat krishnat sakshat katayata swayam. Again, Sanjaya is another great example for us. Through this shloka, we understand why he is a great example. He immediately expresses gratitude for the bountiful experience that he has had. Gratitude is such a powerful emotion which we seldom cultivate. We do not understand the power of gratitude. Many times we think when we thank someone, we are doing a service to the other person, without realizing when we thank someone, we are actually doing service to ourselves. It doesn't matter to the other person. Gratitude is about our own growth, spiritual growth. Now, Sanjaya immediately, after saying, looking at Dhritarashtra and saying, Dhritarashtra, this samvada, this adbhuta samvada, this wondrous samvada has now concluded, and this has resulted in horripilations all over my body. And here Dhritarashtra, he says, Vyasa prasadat shrutavan. Now, I was only able to listen to the samvada only because of my acharya, Vyasa. No, but for Vyasa, there is no way I could have been part of this conversation. Who am I? An ordinary charioteer. And I have been bestowed this profound position only because of my acharya's grace. It is Vyasa. We all know in the Mahabharata, it is Vyasa who blesses Sanjaya, gives him that divine vision. If Bhagavan gave that divine vision to Arjuna, so that Arjuna can see him, know him and experience him, now Vyasa goes one step further. He says, Bhagavan can give that to Arjuna, but let me give the same to my Sishya. And now Sanjaya is saying, Vyasa prasadat shrutavan. He says, because of Vyasa's grace, I am able to etad guhyam aham param. This guhya, this most confidential conversation that has happened between Arjuna and Krishna. Nobody else. There are thousands and thousands of people on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. There are great Mahatmas. Bhishmacharya is there, standing right next to where Krishna and Arjuna were having this conversation. Even Bhishmacharya was not privy to this conversation. Whereas me, an ordinary mortal, Sanjaya, was bestowed. This is my Acharya's grace. He says, Vyasa prasada. This is Vyasa's prasada. Vyasa prasadat shrutavan etad guhyam aham param. Yogam yogeshwarat krishnat. This yogam, I have been privy, I received this yogam from none other than Yogeshwara himself. It is not second hand, third hand, fourth hand, fifth hand. First hand I received. While Arjuna was receiving this yogam, I also received from the Yogeshwara, Krishna. Yogam Yogeshwarat Krishna. Sakshat Katayata Swayam. Personally from Krishna, when he was talking to Arjuna, he was also talking to me. I got the same message, verbatim, the same. I could listen to Krishna, every word, every nuance. How blessed am I? Bhagavan's avataras are rare. Bhagavan's Purna avataras are very rare. And when he takes Purna avataras, he personally giving an exposition on the very essence of life and living, the very essence of Vedas and Vedanta is all very, very, very rare. And to listen to Bhagavan giving an exposition on the very essence of Vedas and Vedantas is even more rare. Now, how blessed Sanjaya is that he has been given this unique opportunity, and Sanjaya therefore immediately expresses his gratitude. Vyasa prasada, the grace of Vyasa. We all ask this question: how do I tap his grace? When we say his grace, it couldn't be the grace of Bhagavan, it can be grace of the Acharya. His grace, how do we tap? The answer is in his humility, inquisitiveness, service attitude. If we have to tap the grace of Krishna, of Bhagavan, or an Acharya, these three are very, very important. And Krishna teaches this earlier in the Gita. Tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. 3 words here. Tad viddhi pranipatena denotes humility, complete submission. Only when there is humility, one can acquire knowledge. One can acquire wisdom. Tadviddi pranipatena, pariprashnena. Humility also does not mean blind acceptance. Inquisitiveness is also important. Pariprashnena, genuinely seek, inquire. Seeking and inquiry is also very, very important. And along with that, pariprashnena sevaya. That's the most defining part, the third part, service. Now, these three also teach us three important things. Humility, pranipatena. Humility, our humility enables the Acharya to show us the way. Our humility enables the Acharya to show us the way. Our inquisitiveness enables us to see the way. Our service attitude enables us to walk on the way. All three are very important. We need the Guru to show the way, we need to see the way, and we need to walk the way. Nobody else can walk the way. We have to walk the way. So all these three. Now, Sanjaya is a supreme embodiment of this fundamental truth. And he is therefore expressing his gratitude to his Acharya Vyasa here. Now, when we talk of expression of gratitude, gratitude has two dimensions when it comes to expression. A dimension of emotion and a dimension of action. Both are equally important. The dimension of emotion is to feel grateful. To feel grateful. The dimension of action is to act gratefully. Both are very important. When we get something very precious, when something very precious is given to us, we have to feel very grateful that we have something very precious given to us. But if we just stop there, then the value of what is precious is lost. Now, having obtained what is precious, after feeling grateful, we have to act gratefully by using what has been given to us. If what is precious is given, is not used, then it loses its value. When the Gita is given to us, feeling grateful that we have the Gita is necessary, but not sufficient. Now, if we just do puja to Gita, keeping it in the altar, feeling grateful that very essence of all the Vedas and Vedanta just in 700 shlokas, how grateful I am, that will not take us to where we need to. Feeling grateful the emotion of gratitude also need to be complemented with the action of gratitude. We need to act gratefully. How do we act gratefully? When the Gita flows through us and when we act as per what Krishna teaches. Now, this is exactly what Sanjaya is doing here. He is feeling grateful and he is also acting grateful. How is he acting grateful? We will see that not only through these two shlokas, in the remaining shlokas, he is cultivating constant remembrance of Krishna. This is what is acting grateful. We have the most potent medicine, which is the cure-all for samsara. If a patient is given a medicine, if the patient does not value it, then the patient is not going to be cured. Now, let's say if a patient values it, but then he does not take the medicine, even then he is not cured. These two pitfalls are because of the lack of gratitude, expression of gratitude, both as an emotion and an action. We need to express gratitude both as an emotion and as an action. Express it as an emotion, feel grateful, and express an action, do the act. act gratefully. And what is the highest quality of any action that we can do? The quality of any action that we do, it does not matter what is the nature of the action. We can be doing any work. Any work, the qualitative shift happens when remembrance of Krishna is embedded in that work. Whatever be it, when remembrance of Krishna is embedded, when it becomes the background score of whatever we do. Now, Krishna Dhyana need not be done separately. No, we keep these two in two different compartments. All the work that we do is in one compartment. Krishna Dhyana is in one compartment. So therefore we conclude that Krishna Dhyana is only possible when possibly we are in the satsang, or when we are in front of the altar, when we are chanting, when we are meditating, when we are singing. Yes, very important. But the Krishna Dhyana has to continue, pervade and permeate every action that we do outside the sphere of what we consider as traditional Krishna Dhyana. That is when the quality of the action that we do, whatever we do, should have the Krishna score, the background score. It's like, when an actor speaks a dialogue in a drama, the dialogue gets accentuated depending on the score. Recently I was watching this interview of superstar Rajinikanth. He was crediting the entire success of the movie Jailer to the background score of Anirudh. He said, I did nothing. I just lifted my finger, but then the background score made it so awesome. Same thing. The background score of Krishna will make every ordinary action extraordinary. Every action that we do suddenly gets a new definition, new meaning. It gets loaded with immense power when the background score is Krishna Dhyana. Sanjaya realizes this. And Sanjaya, the great bhakta, as he is listening, he is internalizing the Gita, he is assimilating it, and everything that he assimilates is issuing out. So therefore, what we are going to see is an outpour from Sanjaya in the coming shlokas. And when we listen to Sanjaya's outpouring, we too will get horripilations all over the body. This is the mark of a great bhakta who not only can experience Krishna, but can make each and every one of us also experience him. This is what the hallmark of a great bhakta is, and that is the very message of the Gita. Continue to keep experience him and enable others also to experience him, irrespective of whatever we do, wherever we are, whatever time it is. So how Sanjaya further concludes in the Gita, we only have few more shlokas to go. There are actually 3 more shlokas to go. Next session, we will cover the 2 shlokas, and then we will have one final dedicated special satsang on the last shloka, which deserves more than a couple of hours, but we will do a dedicated session, a special satsang, just before our grand celebrations. Once again, Krishna Kripa, I have not planned this, you have not planned this. As we prepare for the grand celebrations happening, knowing that we are one of the reasons for our celebrations is completion of 18 chapters of the Gita, Krishna ensures that we complete the 700 shlokas just the week before we celebrate. So, the week before our celebrations, on the 24th, the Sunday, dedicated to Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Partho Dhanuddaraha Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhuti Dhirvani Thirmatir Mama. Spread the word around. We should have maximum attendance, participation on that day. That is going to be the conclusive shloka in the Gita, also the concluding part of our 10-year journey of the Gita. May each and every one of us take that opportunity to attend that satsang, and we will celebrate that as our closing session of the first part of our journey of the Gita. And then we celebrate the next week. Until then, let us continue to contemplate on that great Mahatma, that Sanjaya, because of whom we are able to relish the Gita even today. Sarvam Sri Krishnarpanamastu.